You're listening to the Becoming More Me podcast with me, Teresa Lear Levine. You're already enough. But if you're anything like me, you thrive when you're stretching and developing yourself, creating more of the person you feel called to be. This podcast is here to inspire and support you. Let's release the negative, reinforce the positive, and elevate our vibe together as we tap into our limitless potential to transform and grow. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today to Becoming More Me. I am so excited to introduce you to my guest today, Sharon Duncan. And she and I both came to know each other through an entrepreneur-based group that we were both a part of. And we came to know each other through hiring virtual assistants and all sorts of things as we grew our businesses. And I've really enjoyed what I've gotten to know about her and the way that she helps people. And we've been talking about her coming on the podcast for some time now. And we've gone back and forth with recording dates that fell through and everything else. And you know me, I always believe that everything is right on time and perfectly aligned. So I know that for whatever reason, today is the day that we are intended to talk, and we are both here. And I love that Sharon, I admire that she has, a business that combines so many things that I enjoy: money, intuition, coaching, energy work. She has over 35 years in the accounting field and has owned her own practice since 1990 and financial coaching. And she does it in a very holistic way. That seems to be her jam. And to add to her list of credentials, she's also certified as a yoga teacher, positive psychology coach, holistic health coach, and Reiki level 2 certification as well. So there's a wide variety of things that I think are really cool to combine together. She loves connection with human beings, helping them overcome the stress of old money stories so that they can step into a life they only dreamed of until now. Hi, Sharon. Thanks for being here today.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. And thank you for that wonderful opening. I'm so excited to be here and just to finally connect after so many cancellations, of schedule changes and things like that. So
it's just life.
So happy to be here. Yeah.
And I'm happy to have you. Welcome. I love to just start off with a little bit about you. So if you don't mind telling the listeners, like, where do you live? What are some hobbies you might have? What's your day-to-day life consist of?
Sure. Well, I believe it or not, I live on Martha's Vineyard. I moved here many years ago before it was the cool, where the cool kids come. Although there were, celebrities back in the day, but now it seems to be more on the map. So I live here and I love it here. It's just a wonderful community. It's agricultural, believe it or not. I love the outdoors. I love dogs, animals of all sorts. I love being outside. I love being outside with my animals. I just love the community here and how it feels. It just feels very nourishing for me. What I love to do is be out in nature. I think the thing that I really get jazzed about is going outside in the morning. I walk my dogs a lot, but on leash to do their business.
And how many dogs do you have and what kind?
We have 3 right now. We specifically target Rottweilers.
Love it.
We rescue, raise, train, compete, rehabilitate them. And they're really a wonderful, wonderful breed. They have a bad rap, which breaks my heart because they're wonderful.
Well, I know and I'm sorry, I kind of interrupted you as you were talking about what you do in the morning, but I know that we originally connected as that was one of our connection points, the dogs, because we have 2 yellow labs. And originally one of the first dogs that I had as an adult, raising a dog on my own, was a little Rottie puppy that I raised. And I loved seeing the pictures of yours and that you were so active with them. And they're beautiful, beautiful dogs that you have. So anyway, your day starts and you're walking the dogs.
So I'm walking the dogs in the morning, and what I really dive into is the appreciation for being alive, noticing the air on my face, the birds that happen to be around or not, and being with my animals outside. And just, it kind of starts my day with a soulful beginning. Does that make sense? So it's meditative for me. It's meaningful, and it brings me back into why am I here on the planet right now? right?
Yeah.
So I'm here to create and have joy. And by the grace of God, or whatever it is, higher power source, higher power
Whatever you
source,
believe in.
whatever you call it, the grace of the universe, I still happen to be taking breath in the morning that I'm in. So I have to say that's how I start my morning, every morning, even when it's raining out and snowing. And I don't like the bitter cold. I'll handle it, but it's not my favorite time. But that's kind of how I start my day, and it's one of the it's one of the best parts of my day. Honestly, just getting started with that appreciation for
So do your
life.
dogs walk on leash?
We walk on leash. Because we're on a busy street. Even though it's a dirt road, people drive kind of fast. So, and I like to have individual time with each one of them. So they do get leash walked several times during the day, and then they get long walks out in the woods off leash, that's also a highlight of my life. So yeah.
That's one of the places that our dog's training has definitely slipped, because when we moved to our home during the pandemic that we're in now, we have a giant yard that has an electric fence around it and they just go out. But that means that on those frigid mornings, I'm just like, open the door. And it also means that when we do try to take them on a leash walk, they've forgotten how to walk on a leash. And that can be kind of ugly because they are strong.
I totally
Like,
understand.
yeah.
I'm a little jealous and I totally get it. I wished I could do the same thing. That we're working toward that, actually, to fence it in so that they can have some freedom.
Yeah,
And
it's nice for them, but I also feel like it would be nice to force my butt out the door and have to walk them also, rain or shine or anything else, because like you said, that's an important part of your day. And I think that if anybody, has a practice like that, that even if it's just 10 or 15 minutes where you're not trying to multitask, I mean, and you're not like doing all these things at once, and you just have a chance to, like you said, just breathe, just feel that you're alive, feel the breath going through your body, appreciate those beautiful creatures that are walking around you, and just take it all in. That can set your whole day up to be different than it would have been otherwise.
and and to add to that, the precious time with these precious animals for me, the unconditional love that I receive from them is such a special bond, and to be able to really connect with that, even if it's only for a few minutes, it's still incredibly meaningful, right? It just,
Absolutely.
especially
I
when,
just like look at
yeah,
my dogs and I'm just like, it's kind of crazy that these creatures live among us in our house, that
yeah,
they're these like docile, amazing, they would do anything for us. And yet, like if they wanted to, they could just like eat me. Like,
yep,
you know, but yet it
yep,
doesn't work that way at all. But it's just like I just look at them in like awe. It's like
yep.
this is so interesting that we live together.
Me too. I love it. I
Yeah.
have to say, it brings a life and energy into the home that wouldn't be there if they weren't, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know our oldest dog is 10. He turned 10 in September, and he's definitely had a lot of aging in this last year. And also, almost exactly a year ago, we brought a puppy into the house. And at first, that was like, it gave the older dog such life. He was running again, he was catching the ball, everything. And then it was like the aging accelerated. But I think it's still really helping to keep him younger than he would be without a younger dog around, always kind of poking at him and prodding and, hey, let's play and that kind of thing. But yeah,
Absolutely.
we definitely were not ready to not have a dog in the house, and we were afraid that was coming sooner than we wanted it to. And getting another dog in place was important to us, because I know sometimes the heart doesn't want to do that after you lose one. And
It's incredibly painful when they go. And
mhm.
that's, people always say, we normally have 4 or 5 in our house, and people look at me like we're nuts. And I'm like, it's self-preservation,
Yeah.
honestly,
People look at
because
me that way when I tell them I have 4 kids. So
well, I'm not sure that that's self-preservation. It's called bravery, my friend.
there's a slight difference with the pet parenting and the human
Yes,
parenting. But that's pretty
absolutely.
much the looks I get when I say, yeah, I got 4 boys. What, 4 boys? Yeah. Usually
That's
followed by the, were you trying for a girl? But that's another story.
that's terrific. Oh, I love it. Oh, I
So
love it.
I know it must feel like a lifetime ago, because you've been doing work in the finance industry for over 35 years now. But what originally sparked your interest in working with money, and specifically, like, I guess, accounting?
Yeah, it happened totally by accident, honestly.
Yeah.
I was a college dropout. I was a single mom. And I'm dating myself. It was back in the early 80s when computers were pretty new on the scene. Like we didn't have cell phones back then or even
Yep.
answering machines. Crazy what's happened in my lifetime. I wanted to learn a skill. And so I happened to work for a friend of mine who had a bookkeeping company.
Okay.
And I started working with her and I found I was really good at it. And I really liked it. I ended up working for an electrician full time as his, office manager, bookkeeper person. And he ended up laying me off. And that's what started my business because I needed to support myself. I'm still a single mom at this time. And with no support, 24/7 single mom. And I realized by that time I was probably 28 or 29. I was tired of being a broke single mom. And I also realized that I was waiting for somebody else to come in and fix this for me. I didn't know that that was a tape that was running in my head, but it was definitely running in my head. My mom married a doctor. It was like you always married, somebody else would do it. You're going to win the lottery. Ed McMahon is going to show up at your house saying, "You've won Publishers Clearinghouse." I was waiting for somebody else to do it. So once I realized that I had already started this bookkeeping area of my life, I enjoyed it. Then the new business came in on deck. Then I started working with accountants more often and really wanted to understand how all of the pieces move, like work together. Like, so I went to accounting school and went into the accounting business. And then I saw how all the moving parts worked. And then I'd work with the accountants again and I'd see how they put together tax returns. And I really wanted to learn how that piece worked. So, I went to tax school and then I went to corporate tax school. And it just fell into place by happy accident that I love the work. Isn't that people think I'm bat bleep crazy because I love the work. It's interesting to me. I'm a Virgo. So it's like putting pieces of the puzzle together. Black and white work for me very well. I have difficulty in the gray area. I have to practice that every day, right?
I
So,
so
so
appreciate
yeah. So
when,
that's
for me, when somebody talks about embracing a career choice or a hobby or whatever that is so not me, and accounting is not me, I'm so thankful for you, Sharon, that there are people in the world who enjoy it because that means that I have to do it and
right.
I can hand it off to somebody else and they can do it. And I can do the things that I love and you can do the things that you love. And there's room for every single one of us in this world to do the things that we love.
Absolutely. And that's the biggest tip that I tell people when they come into the office and they're struggling, struggling, struggling. It's like hand it over to somebody who does it well. Understand what's happening. You have to be responsible in that. You can't give all of the responsibility to your bookkeeper, accountant person.
Yeah.
You need to understand your numbers, but it gives you freedom to do what you do well. Like do what you're best at. Whatever your job or vocation or business is, it takes that worry off your plate so there's more headspace for what you love to do, right? So yeah, I kind of love helping people with that. And I also really enjoy the biggest thing that gives me a thrill is having people come in so just defeated and confused. Their self-esteem has been, beaten up by their perception of their lack of experience with money. Does that make
Mm.
sense? Right. So they come in.
It makes total sense
Yeah.
because I have felt that way. It was something that I identified in myself in more recent years that, somebody else had always handled the taxes, but it was not usually somebody that I had gone out and handpicked. We had family members that, did taxes for us or other people. And it never felt like it was the person or even other things with money that I could be like, hey, I totally have no idea what's going on with this or why this happens this way. I felt like a child.
Yeah.
It was like this little kid inside of me and it would get triggered. Like I would be like in tears half the time trying to like do basic tax stuff or get information together. And I know it was because I didn't understand. And so several years ago, when we hired the accountant that we use now and we'll go see tomorrow because it's that time of year, I specifically said to him, I'm like, I am not the most, I don't understand most of the things that I need to do or why I need to do them. And I'm also growing a business right now and I want to get it. So I need to know that you're going to be cool answering questions that seem super basic and explaining them to me in a super basic way so that I understand why we're doing things too. And he was totally on the same page. And I'm so grateful for that because I feel like it's never too late to learn. And I did want to have more of that in my own control and to have an understanding of it instead of just like, oh, I'm just making money and who knows what happens to it after, I make money. And yeah, so I think that that's a common feeling. But for me, I couldn't believe how emotional I would get around that time. And just because I felt so ignorant about it.
Yeah. And vulnerable.
Yes.
And kudos for you for stepping up and getting what you need. You have to work with somebody that you have to be able to ask a question that you think is so incredibly stupid and be
Right.
okay with it. And there are no stupid questions. I'd say
Yep.
the only stupid question is the one that's not asked, right? And if
Absolutely.
you and if you're working with somebody, if anybody who's listening right now, if you're working with somebody who is difficult, doesn't like to answer questions, doesn't make you feel comfortable, then perhaps it's time to be looking elsewhere. Really, this is a partnership. It's a partnership working. Like money has all sorts of triggers around it. So we need to work with people who are supportive. And also, not to mention the fact that who taught us about money? Did school teach us about money? Did our families teach us about money? What they did was they transferred all of their families, ancestral stuff down,
Oh yeah.
which is from the Great Depression. So everybody is scared, right? So all of their stuff comes down, even when we don't talk about it. So it's ancestral. It comes down through the lineage to tell you how to think and feel about money before you turn age 5, right?
Right.
You learn all this stuff. And a lot of people don't know that
We
tape.
soaked it
Yeah,
all up,
it's
every last bit of it, with that subconscious mind of ours that is so sneaky and it's
exactly,
just running in a loop in the background, even though
that's
we're not
exactly
always
right.
aware of it. So yeah, coming through that is so important and
Yeah,
recognizing it and everything else because yeah, I think even still today, so few parents are really educating their
yeah,
kids. And I know my husband and I even bring it up. It's like, are we teaching them enough? Do they know what they need to know? We've got, a senior in high school getting ready to go to college. And we were just saying this morning, like, I don't really think he realizes like how much scholarships could actually help him right now, or what those bills might look like, or any of that, because it's not tangible yet.
right.
And it's such a leap that we expect these kids to go from living under our roofs to, beginning to take care of themselves. And it's a lot.
Yeah.
And we play games that are based in money and financial understandings. And we try to do stuff, but I feel like we're still falling short.
Yeah. Well, great job for having the conversation with your husband. That it's obvious that you guys can work together around this, which is a huge battle right there. I mean, you've already won. That's a big deal. I think when we give our kids things to do where they can actually see the benefit, like starting a savings account and putting $5 in a week and then seeing how it grows over a year, so they can actually see the benefit and say, hey, you put $5 away. $5 is not enough, but you know what I mean? Put $5 away, it could be. And then in a year's time, you'll have this amount of money and you can take 20% of that and go buy whatever you want because you've saved the money, or something like some kind of a strategy so that they can see how it works,
Right.
especially saving. So well done you. Well done you. Just having the conversation. Sometimes kids don't even want to hear it because they have the tape that we had the tape, that our parents had the tape.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
goodness gracious.
The thing
Yes.
that comes through. And a lot of us don't even know that it's there. So, um,
Yep.
take, especially for your son going into college, um, taking the time to, do you run like we don't need to get specific about this, but running numbers. Say, for example, you have a
Right.
son going to college, you can run some numbers and on a piece of paper. A lot of parents will go, don't even want to look at the numbers because they're too afraid, right? So you
Right.
look at the numbers and goes, here's what your loan will look like after college without a scholarship. And here's the monthly payment that you will have to pay when you graduate from college. Now, see these scholarships? that's what this does to these scholarships. And this is what you will have to pay after. So that's a good teaching lesson of what scholarships can do to help him directly.
Right.
So, it's, parents, a lot of people are stuck in the fear around money. And who wouldn't be? It's what it gives us our roof over our head. It feeds us, it clothes us. Unfortunately, at some point, our wealth became attached to our worth as human beings, and that couldn't be farther from the truth,
Yeah.
right? So we're here to learn. We're souls in human bodies, and we're here to learn and create, right? So
Absolutely.
money is the biggest source of support that we have, aside from our family and friends, right? So, but it gives us freedom,
Yeah.
or lack of freedom. So if we don't have any money, and we have to take a job that doesn't pay well and we hate it. So the lack of it can impact us, right?
Yeah.
So it's
Fear
such,
is killer too. I mean, because it's
yeah,
such the opposite of what anybody who wants to live an abundant or wealthy life needs to have in their energy.
yeah,
Because, to actually attract that abundance when you're in fear of money, instead, I mean, nobody teaches, just like they don't teach us any of the other stuff, nobody's teaching us to love money.
yeah.
And like, I love money. But it's like,
Me
it's
too.
like, yeah, I'm trying to think of the example that I heard recently about somebody. Oh gosh, it was like a Bob Proctor story or somebody. It was somebody else in like the wealth and public speaking and stuff.
Yeah,
But they were talking about like coming on stage to give a talk and saying how much they loved their money and this that and the next thing and like everybody kind of getting like turned off. And then they were like, yeah, but if I came out here and said these exact same things about my granddaughter, then everybody would just applaud me and think I had the greatest heart and I had the best intentions. But if I come out here and say that about money, then, you all think I'm here to sell you or I have different intentions or whatever. But it's the exact feelings that we need to have about it in order for it to be attracted to us and come to us instead of us repelling it away.
right. Well, that is one of the biggest hurdles that I have, because the second I say the word money, I've lost 50% of my people because they don't know that tape is running like that. And it's not about the money. It's about the creation. It's about creation. It's about living your life to the fullest. And because money is the biggest support system you have, right? How can we harness that
Right.
without labeling it bad? Like there's a lot of the fear looks like um, money is the root of all evil. That, in fact, is not true.
Nope.
It's the behavior behind the money that is the root of all evil. It's not the money. Money's just a darn piece of paper, right?
It's just
So
energy.
money is energy. Exactly.
Energy.
Like I'm never going to have enough. I'm going to live I'm afraid to ask for help. I'm going to be a bag lady. For every person that's alive on this planet, we all have our own little money story, like our own little money fear tape. And,
Yeah. The
mine,
mind is a powerful thing, people. If you're putting that up out there, then you probably will. You'll never have enough, and you probably will be a bag lady. I
well,
mean,
let's
it's
hope not.
like, that's just the truth.
And if you're listening right now and you have those things, you don't have to be. It's not
No, we can all get that cleared away. So I'm
every.
curious how you made the jump from doing, taxes and accounting into the iteration of your business that is presently what you're doing. Tell us a little
Great.
bit about what you're currently doing and how that's evolved.
Great. Well, I had, as I'll just back up a little bit. When I was born, I had my eldest brother and younger sister are severely intellectually disabled, and I found that my intuitive radar was highly attuned in order to communicate, especially with my older brother, because he has no speech.
Hmm.
So I'm very intuitive, very, very intuitive. And how I took a leap from the practical corporate tax world into this is the human connection you talked about in the beginning. I love the human connection, and I intuitively see where the struggles are. And the biggest thrill that I have is to help another human being untangle the struggle. Like intuitively, I can see it, right? So I can see the struggle, and I'm able to kind of help them identify it, unlock it so that they can do this. And I've watched people over and over again achieve things they never thought was possible because we unhooked that hook, right? So um, that's how it started. Actually, I had a vision 20 years ago of me talking to people about money in a public way. And all of a sudden, I got a download of, aha, okay. And then I started really tuning in on the breakthroughs that people were having. And
Yeah.
it started with that intuitive human connection that we have. And that floats my boat. I got to tell you that raises my cork. It's
Me
so
too.
exciting, right? Right?
All
It's
those
so
things that kind of make your ears prick up and everything else. And you're like, oh, it's like detective work, but it's
yeah, for
amazing.
sure. And also at the same time, while all of this was happening, I had a lot of death in my life. I had a lot of people, my parents, my stepfather, my best friend, a mentor, animals. The animals were the I have to say it, the animals were the hardest ones. And the combination of the intuitive piece and the losing of people that we love really brings home to me that we're not here that long, right? So stop bleeping, wasting your time
Yep.
and get them, clean this money crap up, and let's all clean it up so that we can actually shift the tide on the planet. We can do that, right? If we all clean this up, we get clear about it. We know that one person does absolutely make a difference, and we get a million of us together and we'll make positive change for the force of good. And even if we don't even step out that big, and we only do it for ourselves, right? If you can heal yourself and start creating things in a positive way, there is a ripple effect. It's
Sure
like the
is.
pebble in the pond. So, obviously, I love it. I get excited about it. I think it's really important. And, if I can be the voice that helps people around the money issue and create something that I have passion about, it's a win-win for all of us, I think. Especially, for me, I'm living my dream. I'm living my passion right now. So, I'm not sure I answered your question, but that's kind of how I took the
Definitely.
leap going from one to the other. Yeah.
Yeah. So then intuition obviously plays a big role for you as you coach people. What what do you feel like the value is of intuition in finances?
Huge value. We intuitively know if we are going the right or the wrong direction. We intuitively know if we're making a good or bad financial choice. And most people will push that intuition down and go, not today. Like you intuitively know if your money is a muck because every time you use your credit card or to pay for groceries or pay a bill or your bank statements come in and they're like you get a feeling. That feeling is your intuition saying something is amok. It's imperative. I mean, an it's such a beautiful tool to have that we all have. We all have this intuition. We all that gut feeling. They talk about having a gut feeling. Your intuition is your gut feeling. So
Absolutely.
if you think about money and you have your gut reaction around it is oh or I don't know, then something is amok.
People discount it so much, but literally our brain and our gut form from
yeah,
the same clump of cells. And the gut is the part that formed first, essentially our first brain. And there are neuroreceptors and things that neurotransmitters that are connecting the two. So you know it in your gut, that brain, before you know it in your thinking brain.
right. It's pretty darn exciting.
It is.
And
It
a
really
lot of
is.
people bypass it and they don't even know that gut reaction is like it's an ingrained tool that we're all born with,
Yeah.
you
I find
know?
so many people think it's just like, oh, it felt wrong, but they discount that. Like somehow their feeling wasn't supposed to mean anything.
Yeah,
And that's what kills me because it's like, let's start actually tuning into that, really
exactly.
like playing off of that and allowing that to be your compass because it really is. It is like a guiding star for you. And it's scientifically based and everything else. It's not just this whim or this feeling. And you can think of all these times if you try where you felt it and then you did something else anyway and you already know the repercussions of doing that. So just imagine if you start actually leaning into that guidance and going with it instead of just deciding to do the other thing anyway.
Exactly. Well, and I always say sometimes listening to that intuition is harder in the short term, but in the long term, it always pays off, and it pays off big.
Yeah.
Right?
I like to sharpen my intuition when I play cards. Like
Oh,
when I'm just like playing like a game of nines with my kids or something. And I don't know if you're familiar with the game or not, but you
I'm
draw
not,
a
but
card and you have to decide whether or not you're going to swap it out for another one or whatever. And I just kind of like feel that energy of like, is this one to swap? Is this one to keep? And I always just kind of listen. Am I actually listening to my intuition or am I not, kind of thing? And it's funny how good it is even there when it's
oh, I'd love to play it with you sometime. That would be so
yeah,
cool.
it would be. Play some intuitive cards.
Yeah.
See if we actually. And there are times when I think like, oh, is it going to be this card or this card, and then I falter and I don't choose the one that I thought I should, and it's like always
Yeah.
worst choice.
Well, there you go. That's it. There's your intuition. It's talking to you, right?
Yes, but it's a fun way to kind of prove to yourself that it's working
Yeah.
without really any major risk. So,
Yeah.
for anybody who's wondering about their intuition, just next time you're playing a board game of cards, something that's just arbitrary, just
Yeah.
listen to it and follow it, even if it seems like weird or it doesn't seem like the most logical choice. Intuition and logic are not the same thing. So, just follow the intuition.
Right. Well, the logic is the thinking brain that will tamp down that intuition, right?
Yeah.
Most often, intuition doesn't follow logic,
No.
right?
Yes, but it
And
leads
that's
to
where the
much better
trust,
places.
right? Well, that's where the trust and the faith comes in, right? So I think that the intuitive part really lies in the bigger universal level. It's a tapped in source, like, right? So it's, I think it just taps into the universal energy
Mhm.
of consciousness. And if you have spirit guides or if you believe in that sort of thing, which I do, like are tapping on the shoulder going, this is a bad idea. This is a bad idea. It's still, and this is a really bad idea. This is a bad idea. You know what I mean?
Yes. How loud does it need to be before you listen?
Right. And I think just the act of stepping into that intuitive piece really helps you to step into the stream of good consciousness, universal consciousness that is so incredibly powerful. It allows us to let go in a deeper way of trust,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
That knowledge, universal knowledge-based trust. I don't know if this makes sense, but
that totally
um,
makes sense.
yeah.
And kind of like leads me to the next thing I'd love to ask, which is what are some of your favorite practices, whether practical or energetically based, or, even in the sense of like being woo, if we want to go there for manifesting abundance and financial security? Do you have any favorite practices?
Well, the first practice is the one that I talked about earlier, is just going outside and having the joy of being alive
Yeah.
and having to tap into that. I journal every morning in one form or another to kind of get, I don't know if you've ever heard of The Artist Way, Julia Cameron. She talks about
Yes.
morning pages, right? Morning pages, 3 pages of just stream of consciousness, get the crap out of the way, right? So that's a practice that I use. And what that does for me is it gets that, boy, did she look horrible. Why did I eat that? What was I thinking when I bought those clothes? Oh my God, the house is the mess. Blah, gets that kind of stuff out of the way for intuitive ideas to come in. And that's when I really create, like some of the best ideas I've ever had have come in through that journaling. And I wasn't even looking for it. Right.
Right.
Uh, right. So, and trusting, the biggest piece for me is knowing, like, for example, that hit that I got 20 years ago of what I'm supposed to be doing, and what the jazz that I get around that is to tap into that every morning and understand what it is that I'm supposed to do in that day to take one small step toward that. And then I go on with my day and see where it leads. There's practical bits, of course, of having to do day-to-day stuff, like cleaning the house and managing the money and going to the bank, that need to be done. But in terms of stepping in the woo-woo, the intuitive stuff, I start there. Like I have to start with looking into my heart and soul first to set the day up for success. Most days I do it, some days I don't, and the days that I don't, usually aren't as good as the days that I do. But out of those steps comes real practical action. I have a stack right next to me. I have a stack of 3x5 cards that I keep for all of the practical things that I need to do, like go to the bank, work on this client, make that call, do that email, so that I have not only these creative ideas to move forward on, I have actually an action step card to take with me. And I actually take the card with me and stick it right in my purse so I have it. So it's invaluable to me that tapping in the morning. I feel like I try to connect to a source that's greater than my own to give me courage and strength, because some of the choices that I'm making are big right now. Some of the choices that I'm making to move forward are big, and they're scary. So it's like, all right, I'm doing this. I'm in. This is what I was told to do. I get it. It lights my fire. I feel creative. I'm stepping in. All of these things are coming in as evidence to support me. Let's make it a little bit bigger today.
Yeah.
So
fear. I see you. You go over there now. I got work to do. I'm going this way. You go that way.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's awesome. So for somebody who might like just be starting out on their journey to abundance or financial freedom or whatever the case may be, how would you recommend them overcoming money worry so that they can thrive? I know sometimes that worry and that fear can get in the way. Would it be similar, or are there any other ways that you'd suggest kind of getting out of their own way?
Sure. Well, the biggest thing that they have to do is decide to do it. And ask the fear kindly to step aside, right? So you like it's a human being, like it's another person. It's a skill they want to conquer. Ask the fear to say, I get it. Thank you for being here, but please move aside because I want to do something different now. And then see where that choice leads to. It's hard to talk with other human beings because nobody talks about money. So looking for a book that calls to you around money, right? So, and when the fear comes back in, you can say, thank you very much for being here. You've told me that my money, if I have the fears that's coming up, my money is muddled. Thank you. I hear you. Step it aside. So, right. You don't just do it once and then decide to have it, go over there. And then you just take positive action step every day, even if it's only for a minute, right? And have to decide that we're going to conquer this and see where it leads you, right? So if it's practical, like managing your money, you talk to your accountant, or you get a book on how to manage money, or you get a money management app. It's like whatever calls you. There's a million different ways to learn how to do money management that is out there. Find the one that works for you, right? And then when fear comes back in, because it's gonna, then you go, thank you again for reminding me that I'm still working on this. Please step aside. And it may also be helpful. I mean, one of the exercises that I do with groups is to really look back and to see where the money message started for you. What is the earliest money memory? For me, mine is my dad always said, money's only worth what you spend it on. And honestly, God bless my father. I know he loved me. He never spent it on me. So that set me up for overspending because I'm worth it. Overspending. I was just trying to get my dad's love, right? So I'm overspending to show myself that I was worth it. So, finding out, maybe looking into what is that money tape that's driving the fear. Maybe that needs to be untangled a little bit.
So many people never look into that level of consciousness to connect the dots and to unhook, like you said, or unconnect those things so that they can be free of that. And that's huge. So that's amazing that you were able to, see that and unhook it for yourself, because so much of what we have going on with money comes from way, way back, like you said. And
we don't even know it's there.
No,
like people don't even know the tape is running there. I call it the hum of the refrigerator. I was it was in my kitchen having lunch, and the refrigerator's running, and then it turned off, and then the house was silent.
Yeah.
I realized how much space I had in my head because that noise was not running, and I didn't even hear it when it was on,
Yep.
right? So, untangling that old money story is huge. Like, and it doesn't take a long time. It's not like we have to go into therapy for 5 years, folks, to figure it out.
Nope.
You know what I mean? You just go back and go, what's your first money memory? Like, what do you remember about money? Was it anger? Did anybody talk about it? Do we hoard? Do we give too much? Did we have, were your parents embarrassed about having too much money, or they didn't have enough? What does that tape look like? And, once we can understand that a little bit, and then understand how that has impacted all of our actions as adults, that typically untangles a lot of the fear that gets in the way, right? So
Right.
then you go back, you'll figure that out, you move that out of the way, you read a book that inspires you. There's so many good books
So
out there.
many good money books out there.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah,
have
and
any do you have any favorites? I don't want to like call you out like on a moment's notice, but do you have any favorite books for
I
money?
have there are several. I'm gonna turn around and grab one right now. Oh, that's the wrong one. I'm coming. Hold on. I'm coming.
Sorry,
Um,
didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I bet you've got some great recommendations and I'd love to hear
this
them.
one is very woo. It's called Creating Money,
Ooh, I like the cover.
right? I like it because it's
Crafting
woo.
abundance. Yes.
Yeah. And so I like it because it's woo and it steps outside of the consciousness. It's
Who's the
about,
author on that one? I couldn't see that for
it's
anybody
son.
listening.
I'm not going to say their name, right? Oh,
Sanaya Roman and Dwayne Packer. Okay.
yeah.
For anyone listening that wants to check out that book. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I love listening to books about money, reading books
Yeah.
about money, just embracing it more and more because it wasn't like it just wasn't something we talked about as a kid, you know? It's just one of those things like
Yeah.
religion, money, politics, you just don't talk about it.
Well, and people don't talk about it, and it's sustaining us. And if you look to just about everything that is wrong with the planet right now, 99.9% of the time you can hook it back to money.
Mm,
Look at it. If there's anything that you look at and you go, "Oh my God," think about follow the money. You know what I mean? So the more of us who get clear about money, uh, the less of that I think will have happen, right? So I always say one person does make a difference, millions of us make change. So the more of us who are active in our soulful participation with money, the better it's going to be. And it could be
right.
a revolution, right?
Yeah. And we can do so much to resolve what happened in our own lives in the past. But then there's also the idea that the financial market's up and down, and sometimes it's difficult times for a lot of people right now. Are there any ways that you recommend calling in wealth and keeping it even during times like this?
I think, sometimes the struggle is real, like being evicted, not having enough money for groceries,
Right. Or really urgent.
really urgent. So I think that that's when you have to zoom out and think bigger. You have to think outside of the box to solve the catastrophe that's happening, because that's a catastrophe to be thrown out of your home, or to be worried about being thrown out of your home, or not have enough money for groceries, um, is catastrophic living. And I've actually been there myself. And
And that
so
gets you on a nervous system level.
it sure does. Absolutely. So what has to happen at that point, um, and what happened for me and what I did during that time, was I had to think outside the box, trust that I was going to be okay, and then start looking for help.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I remember um, I left a bad situation that I was living in at the time, and I went to the community support services and they got support. And because I was a single mom in this situation, they said, here, this is a one-time thing. We go to the grocery store and buy everything you need. I didn't even know that was possible, but it was because I was in catastrophe living, and I looked outside the box. I started just looking at different avenues for help. It's amazing how quickly the universe responds when an emergency is happening. It moves quickly, right? So we just have to decide that we're going to get the help that we need and actively.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And also, to add to that, for people who aren't in a state of emergency and are gaining that momentum, it does not have to take forever to get from one income level to another or whatever. These things can happen really fast once you align with the frequency of that which you desire and learn how to really hold space for it. And that's something that I wish I knew a lot earlier in life too, because that was also beliefs and teachings and things. You know, you have to work hard, you have to have certain credentials, you have to do something for a certain period of time. There's only so much growth that you can have in a year or five, and it's bull. It's total crap.
No, it's total crap.
So yeah, I mean, things can literally change in an instant. It's the same way with healing and your body and everything else. Just because it took you 20 years to get into back pain or whatever else does not mean that it has to take you that long to get out of it. So just remember that things can happen very quickly, especially when you're collaborating with something as magnificent as the universe.
Absolutely. And deciding that you want it to be that way.
Yeah.
Right. You focus on the things that bring you joy.
Yeah. Like that decision, that commitment means a whole lot when it comes to actually creating success in anything, for sure. So where is a good place for our listeners to find out more about what you do and how they can work with you and all the things that you offer?
Sure. I think the best place to get me is on my website, which is infiniteassetscoaching.com.
Wonderful.
I'm offering right now, I send out weekly emails. I call them prosperity possible money messages for the soul, right? So they go out right now, and it's free to sign up for. So you go to the website, go to the tab that says prosperity possible and sign up for free. And also that'll sign you up for any future events that happen this year. I'm going to have a bunch in 2023. So I'm kind of excited about that. So yeah, that's I'm on Facebook also, Infinite Assets Coaching on page. And also there is a Facebook group called Money Relief. So find me, Sharon Duncan, on Facebook, be my friend. I'll send you a Facebook request from the Money Relief. And, we talk about ideas like, what would you do if you got $1 million and you could spend it anywhere? I'm
in the group. I think you have great questions that you ask, and there's really cool conversations going on in there. So you guys should definitely come join us in the Money Relief group on Facebook.
And I have so much fun developing that. So yeah, it's good.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today and sharing all of your wisdom and knowledge. It was wonderful. And I will make sure that all of that information is in the show notes for our listeners for easy access. Is there anything else that you want to leave us with today?
I want to say that no money situation is too big to be solved or not be solved. Does that make sense? It doesn't matter where you are right now. It can always be fixed. Nothing is permanent. And all you need to do is decide to do it. And that it's fun, really fun to overcome a money thing.
Yes.
One of the biggest life achievements that we could ever have is to overcome that money thing. So that's what I would say.
Sure. And it's healing for the generations to come also when we heal that in ourselves. So
absolutely.
Just like choosing yourself first and loving yourself first helps everybody else. There is a ripple effect to getting your stuff right with your finances.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharon.
And thank wonderful to be with you.
All right. Thanks so much for listening. If you loved this episode, please share it with a friend or post on social media and tag me so I can personally connect and thank you. Until next time, keep taking bold and brave action steps towards becoming more of who you want to be in this world. You are capable, you are worthy, and you are enough. Keep shining your light.